Hello, friends. Today I'll be talking about the Me Too movement and how you can use your inner peace and your energies to help yourself become a stronger person so that no one, especially the males, are not falling a victim to these temptations which are causing moral depravity. So, to first understand the Me Too movement, you have to understand the roles that man and woman play. And the most important role is that of the observer and the effect, the Purush and the Prakriti, the knower of the field and the field. So, thinking of Purush more generically as the men, they are observers, they are doers, and the prakriti is the product, which can be females, and they have all this apparatus that the purush sometimes has a sense of entitlement over to play around with and create sense of joy. Now that joy is more external and short lived because the joys of sexual pleasure are the ones that are created by visualization, touching, involvement, and recruitment of the sense organs, mostly the sacral plexus, the swadhisthana, which is just below your belly button, 2 inches below. So, um, the Me Too movement represents a discordance between the sexual interactions which the males are trying to provide and the females trying to receive, because I did not ask for it and you still gave it to me anyways, especially the powerful men. That's what they're doing to the females. So why does this happen? All of us want to be rich, famous, successful, have financial freedom, and we are doing this at a pace and a rate, uh, and in the process of doing this we are creating a lot of bad energy, and that energy is resulting from a malalignment of your energies at the lower chakras. We are not even talking about the vishuddha, the ajna, the sahasrara, the upper three chakras. We are still caught up in the lower chakras, the the muladhara, the financial stability, and the lowest chakra, and the swadhisthana, which is about the sexual energies, your sexual identity, your interactions, emotional interactions with other people. And so let's dive into it. The problem is there is a lot of emptiness inside you, and that you're trying to fill by overfilling the muladhara and swadhisthana, the root plexus and the sacral plexus, the lower two plexus. Now muladhara helps to provide financial stability and food, your basic necessities, water, and for most of us in this developed world and developing countries too, most of these basic necessities are met. So we don't have to worry about when you wake up in the morning to get the next piece of bread because we know food will be there. We're not going through famines, thankfully. Now, once that is met, you go to the next chakra. The next chakra is a swadhisthana, which is the sacral plexus. Now, the sacral plexus is where you start looking for pleasures. You have been met with your basic necessities, uh, ahar, and nidra, hopefully. So now you go for the ahar nidra bhay maithun. So you go for the sexual pleasures of procreation or making out or just doing stuff which might not be on a serious level, but it's more frivolous. Now this is where the problem starts. More for uh, the the rich, successful men who seem to have a sense of entitlement over women because they look at them as objects of sensual gratification, and that's where the problem starts. When you start treating someone as an object and not as a jiva, a sentient, conscious human being. And that is because you have been overloaded with sensual apparatus around you, and you're trying to get and grab everything that is around you. And this is because these men, although they are rich and successful, maybe intelligent academically, they are not happy in the inside. They have a lot of anger, resentment, guilt that they are trying to displace by and ignore and rechannelize by involving with these objects of sensual gratification, beautiful looking girls, beautiful body parts, engaging their own body parts, and they're trying to kind of numb their inner pain, just like alcohol does when you are super anxious or depressed. So that's not a solution. That is a temporary drift away from the solution. And that, of course, comes back to bite you with the Me Too movement when all these women 10 years later tell all the things that have happened. The chicken come home to the roost eventually. So the answer to the Me Too movement, or the answer to being more righteous in your life and create a sense of inner peace, is to fill you from inside. So, I will talk about three distinct things that can be done to improve your sense of well being, self worth, your inner joy, peace, and happiness. Now, these are big words, but in sense, they're meaning creating happiness from within and not from without, from outside. So, recognizing that there is someone living inside you. You can think of it as the mind, not a problem. You can think of it as the soul if you go that high. But you have to know it's something more than this body that is doing things. So don't become enslaved to the needs of the body. The three tricks. Number one trick is slow breathing, because there is this prana vayu, that is the uh, vayu is wind and prana is life, so the life giving air. Now that is, when you're anxious you do a rapid shallow breathing, so you have to slow down your breathing, as in pranayama you go through. You see how deep and slow the pattern of breathing is? Hold it and then exhale. This way, you're creating a sense of control on the Vishuddha, or the expression area of your body. So you're kind of helping better connect your inner feelings with your thoughts and the words and the writings. That is helping one way. So to grow the lower chakras, you're using the help of the higher energies. The other energy I want you to use is the Manipura, or the solar plexus. Very important again, because solar signifies fire. Fire is a very strong element that makes up our body. Five elements make up our body: Bhumi, Rapo, Nalo, Vayu. So that is fire, earth, air, water, and ether. Ether is nothing. How can nothing make up the body? Nothing makes up everything. Tien Tyaktien Bhunjita, as the Isha Upanishad says. Take only what is set aside for you. So nothing is nothing, and that is a part of something, or the whole spectrum. Anyways, so you took the help of the Vayu, and now you're taking the help of the fire. The fire, in the sense that you do eating which is restricted, and you have intermittent caloric restriction, which means you're not consuming high quantities of fatty, greasy, sugary foods. Sugar creates addiction, so try to avoid sugar as much as you can. But also trying to create intermittent fasting, where you don't eat for 24 hours, and that way you're building a sense of control and allowing the fire that digests the food, or the fire that causes glycogenesis or glycogenolysis and lipolysis and all the breakdown of the fats and the glycogen in your body, to provide the energy to kick in. Because that's the way it happened in the past. You had famines and floods and times of plentiful and times where you did not have any food. So the body needs to break down the stores it has stored over the years, and that's the idea of intermittent caloric restriction and intermittent fasting. But more so, it is increasing the fire that burns in your belly, the fire in the belly as we call it, and that is your the prana agni, or the fire that creates life. Also, it increases your resting energy expenditure, or the REE, or the basal metabolic rate, because then you have a higher metabolism because you have kicked in the fire. That's why in Ayurveda we say don't eat for at least half an hour, don't drink water for at least half an hour, or before or after eating, and more so I would say for 2 hours, because then you are creating this window where the food is sitting and the fire, or the enzymes, if you will, the pancreatic enzymes and the liver enzymes are able to break down the food efficiently. Small quantities of food, mindful eating. Look at the food when you're eating. Touch the food. That's why if you eat it with your hands, you do a better connection of building the nerve ending connections from the fingertips to your mouth than if you eat with a spoon. The same idea with barefoot walking. When you walk barefoot, then you are letting the nerve endings in your soul hit the ground. You build better tactile proprioception, better balance, hence less of falls. So, I will do a lecture about mind body connection in a different later lecture. But basically, the idea is mindfulness in eating, drinking, looking at the stuff, not playing video games and eating junk food, but looking at the food when you're eating it, touching it, and slowing down the process. Slow down the breathing, slow down the eating, and eat the food that you enjoy. Doesn't have to be food that is unpalatable, but has to be in small portions so that the desire to eat food comes back and food is not thrown away. So you restricted your breathing or slowed down your breathing. You restricted your eating with mindful eating, small portions. The third one is sex. Now, sex cannot be reckless and callous and repetitious. And the problem with the sacral plexus and the Me Too movement, the rise happened because we had this feeling of incompleteness. And sex appeared to be one way, an outlet to create a control over someone. Although you don't have a control over yourself, you start controlling people around you. How unfortunate. So that creates an imbalance because the other person, the prakriti, which you are controlling, feels wrong because it was treated like an object of sensual gratification and then trashed because you did not mean to have a long-term association. You already had one, or you had a different secondary idea in your brain. So that's why you feel that you have wronged someone, which is wrong because not only by engaging in sexual activities or various bodily functions, you seem to dominate that person because of your power that you had over them, either by professional seniority or money. You made them feel weaker and smaller than yourself, and that is a wrong thing, and that will create a lot of resentment, and that's why it comes back to bite us 10,000 years later. So, there has to be restriction and feeling fullness within yourself. And sex should be looked more like an emotion of connection with the person you love than something you can play around with frivolously. Because when you play around with it frivolously, it will come back to have its repercussions. It's a very powerful tool of connecting with another individual at a deeper level. So not looking at the body parts when you're engaging with the person, but looking in their eyes, smiling, touching, more softly, and in a way where you're creating a connection with that person rather than a manipulation of their body parts. So the third thing now, after control of your eating and your breathing and the sexual control, I should say these are the triad. The effect is you have a better control over yourself, a better control of your sleeping patterns. You don't need to sleep 10 hours and still feel tired. You'll feel very energetic after 5 hours of sleep. And you feel as a more productive person because you have filled yourself from inside. So you don't need these outside cues to help you gain some strength over other people. So, to recapitulate, inner peace and joy can be attained not by sexual gratification, not by sensual fulfillment, but only by creating a sense of fulfillment from inside, which entails pranayama or the slow breathing exercises, which entails intermittent caloric restriction or intermittent fasting so that you can let the fire in the belly, the manipura, burn in a better way. And the third is, of course, using sex more seriously and responsibly, and not as a frivolous act with random people. So if we can do these three things in a slow, meticulous way of vairagya or detachment, because remember, emotional attachment is an addiction. What is attachment? Attachment is an emotional addiction. So you should love, unconditional love of the anhita, and less of the frivolous activities of sex with the swadhisthana or the sacral plexus. So try to align your energies and use the right feelings and thoughts to ascend across the chakras into your higher realms. And that way you'll have a more joyous existence and a more peaceful life. So try to do these three things, friends, and then you will find more inner peace and more love with your life. You will feel your friends, your family, your spouses are loving you more, and you are having a higher self-worth. And that's what the Manipura is about, the third chakra, about self-esteem. I'll do a lecture on chakra soon, but thanks for watching this video.